Boop-a-doo.
I also think I may stay for like the beginning and agenda, but then duck out when Quiplash kicks off.
Okay.
I have to finish cutting my roommate's hair. But I wanted to say hi and see what's going on.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
It's been forever, I know.
How have you been? Still alive?
Still alive. Quarantine's going okay-ish. I'm kind of doing a bad job because I have been going back and forth between my house and my girlfriend's house, which technically I'm not supposed to do. But also, I don't know, I'm not gonna stop probably.
Okay, let's give it another few minutes, but while we're waiting, I would love to hear what people are doing for coping mechanisms. This has been sort of a very strange last few weeks. What have you all been up to?
Keeping busy. It's basically been like one really long weekend with regenerating homework. So I miss the external stimulation, but I'm just gonna like use my webcam to show you where I'm stuck.
Pretty.
So it's not like I can't go outside at all.
I'm teaching a lab class online. That's really odd.
I heard those are terrible right now because it's just basically data analysis.
Yeah, it's sort of, I mean, it's like a molecular biology that I'm teaching. And so like it's going okay right now because people still have a lot of things that they can do like on the computer, but like they can't do any PCR or like any of the normal stuff that they were gonna do. So it's pretty strange.
I'm lucky that I'm done with all lab classes and yeah, so everything's chill.
Are you an undergrad?
Yeah, I graduate in like September.
Nice. What major?
Bioengineering.
Nice. That's really cool.
Yeah. They already don't give us enough labs anyway, so kind of got those out of the way pretty fast.
Nice. I have like a few more eons left because PhD life never ends.
Okay, hello. We might as well jump on into things. So right now you are all just looking at like the gallery view or the speaker view, right? So you just see my face. Okay. So for the rest of this term, we're going to be doing online meetings, obviously. And maybe this will be a new norm for us for a while. We'll be recording these meetings so that we can post them somewhere that people can see when they're not able to come to the meeting. And we want to be able to try to provide some other opportunities for events since we had to cancel most of our events. So at the beginning here, we just want to talk about what are the changes that we've had to make for this term, some updates for this year, who are our new officers, because the spring term is an overlap for officers, and who are, and so what other events do we want to plan for this upcoming term? Really, all these changes are kind of abrupt, and we want to get a lot of people's feedback about what events you all want to see. So my hope is that even though there's not a lot of people in this particular meeting, that other members are able to watch it and still give us feedback on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, however people want to. So with that, why don't we, I included a lot of updates in the newsletter that we sent out. So why don't we just look at that to take a look at our officers for next year. So let me share that. Okay, so now you all can see my web browser, right?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, all the pictures disappeared, so I couldn't see people. Thank you. Okay, so let's look through real quick who next year's officers are and talk a little bit more about the officers' roles. OSU Outreach Officer. So next year, Lincoln will be our OSU Outreach Officer. Spring term is serving as an overlap so that the current OSU Outreach Officer can help train the new OSU Outreach Officer. So Lincoln is our Outreach Officer for spring term and next year. We also have a Community Outreach Officer. These two positions are really about connecting with people. This is the OSU Outreach Officer is really about connecting with students at OSU, letting members or non-members know about our upcoming events and helping connect with other clubs at OSU, really, to possibly network or collaborate on events. The Community Outreach Officer does that, but for connecting to people in the community. This year, the main focus has been connecting with middle school and high school students in the community to see how we can support them. Alyssa had been doing that this year as well, and will continue to do that next year. This year, we've got a couple of OSU administrative officers, Lee and Rachel. Julie, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what the administrative officer does?
Sure. So the administrative officer basically serves as an interface between oSTEM and our kind of sponsoring body, the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, which is headed by the lovely Saeed Rosado Lauso. So in addition to attending the leadership meetings with the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, in theory, I also keep us up to date on requirements for student organizations, which are mainly things like filling out forms on the SLI database, which has now been rebranded, but basically filling out the required forms and administrative documentation needed to maintain our status and make sure we're following the required policies for student orgs.
Thank you. And then we also have a graduate student union representative. This is because this oSTEM was actually originally started through the graduate student union. And so we just like to keep in contact. It's a great resource for connecting with graduate students because we know that often we have to go through different routes to connect with graduate students as opposed to undergraduate students. Brian Lynn will continue to be our graduate student union representative. And Brian's also going to be our treasurer for next year, handling all the financials. We also have a media manager, Sam, to keep on contact on social media, to send out newsletters, lots of different pieces, but basically staying in contact with the club and getting the word out about events. We have two secretaries. Sam and Lee will be our secretaries next year. That involves setting up meetings and scheduling events, calendar things, but also just maintaining a sense of continuity for the club. It's really important to have secretaries that are just awesome, like we've had this whole year. It's been great. OSU Network
is about the speed of light, isn't it?
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
right.
1 second. I'm doing something over here.
Okay.
I think. Not a calories thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the square was the that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we also have an an oSTEM network coordinator. That's because our chapter is actually part of a larger national organization. And so the oSTEM network is mostly colleges and universities. We also have one, as far as I know, just one professional branch right now. But that is staying in contact with the oSTEM network is really important because there can be regional and national meetings. We send our members to the national conference, and we also participate in monthly calls on regional and national level. So staying in contact with lots of people gives us lots of resources, and we can get advice and hear from other oSTEM chapters that have actually been operating for a lot longer than we have. With that said, we are still recruiting. So if you have an interest in being in a leadership position, we would love to hear from you if you want to just help us plan events, or if you are interested in a specific officer position. We have a pretty flexible officer structure at OSU, or sorry, in oSTEM. So we generally share a lot of positions and roles. So for instance, there's 2 secretaries, and they can help share and manage different parts of that position. So in particular, we are interested in getting some extra help with the media manager position, which could be as specific as being the one who posts things to Twitter, or helping us manage all sorts of different media. Community outreach is also important to connect with middle schools and high schools and other people in the community. The OSU admin officer is also looking for someone else to help with some of those tasks, as well as OSU outreach, connecting with other students and clubs at OSU. So if you're interested in any of those, you can look at the specific descriptions in that email, the newsletter that we sent, the shared responsibilities. When you click on that, it actually opens up the document with the different position descriptions for those. And you all can see that changed windows, right, to the officer positions. Okay, great. So if you want more information about what each of those does, we have specific descriptions. And some of the wording in here is vague because we know that each year the officers have to communicate with each other in order to get a lot of the specific duties done. So each year we kind of navigate that and ask for help and support when we need it. Okay, so let's go back to here. Now I want to talk real quick about all the events that we put on pause for right now. We had a lot of plans for this term, but now we can't really meet in person. So these are all kind of going on the shelf, but we're documenting them so that people can pick them up next year. We've got the Day of Silence, Night of Noise was going to be in late April. Basically a day of silence and speeches, as well as the Day of Silence, which is more like a pledge and information sharing with the OSU community. And the Night of Noise was basically like a big party that we were going to throw off as well with some speeches and people talking about the importance of being aware of all the issues that the queer community faces. If you haven't heard of the Day of Silence before, it's an event that basically commemorates and tries to remember the people that have been lost in the queer community due to violence against queer folks, as well as the people who are currently silenced and live in communities that may be dangerous to voice their opinion or be themselves. So that is an opportunity to really do outreach and education as well as celebrate our identities. The Queer Ball was going to be in late May, basically big party, big queer party. Drag Bingo was a partnered event with the Pride Center. That may be able to make digital. We're still discussing that, and you can do the same type of event, Drag Bingo, on Zoom. So we've been talking about possibly doing that, asking if the Pride Center is interested, or we might just host our own. The clothing swap was also canceled because swapping clothing. And Queer Hiking is an ongoing event that we do that Calypso runs, actually. And that's paused until we get the okay that we can hang out in groups. So it's kind of unclear when that will start up. It may start up over the summer, depending on what the feedback is, but it may be a lot longer until fall. And then also, starting last year, we started going up to the Portland Pride Parade and the celebration. And as far as we're aware, that's probably going to be canceled. But maybe there's going to be some big gay online event. So maybe we can look forward to participating in that together. But as of right now, it's canceled. So we'll be canceling our trip up there.
I have seen noise on Facebook about Pride event, so it could happen.
Ooh, I like. Okay. So then we also were throwing out some ideas for digital events that we wanted to be able to provide. So drag bingo was one of those, but we also have some other things. One of our officers wants to put together a book speed dating. Was that yours, Julie?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, could you?
One of mine.
Was what I wrote basically a synopsis, or just connecting with people?
Yeah, that pretty much hits it. My friend in Seattle apparently went to one of these events, which is you show up, you bring your favorite book, and you laser target people who have books that look interesting. You basically just kind of quickly meet, chat. Like the structure is like speed dating, but you're not dating, you're looking at people's books, hence book speed dating. Yeah. So the idea, I'm hoping to have this planned out and scheduled for weeks 4 and week 8 with one fiction edition and one nonfiction edition.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. We also were talking in our community outreach officer, Alyssa, was working on planning some type of event of talk to a scientist, like bringing some OSU scientists to middle schools and high schools. But we can still do that digitally. So this is in the works to see if we can reach out to middle schoolers or high schoolers that are doing classes online and provide an outreach opportunity for OSU to connect with middle school and high school students. So if you're interested in any of these events, just keep in touch on Slack or watch our social medias. We are also talking about doing a group Netflix. That one's pretty easy. It's actually, this is a chance for me to use the hand raising up thing. Could you raise your hand if you have watched Netflix with other people online, like using there's a few different websites that do it, but Netflix Party is one of them. So raise your hand in Zoom if you've done that before. Can I raise my hand? I don't think I can raise my hand. Oh, wait. Nope. No hand raise. Oh, dang. Okay, so we got one person. Lincoln has. It pretty much just syncs up the playing of whatever you're watching so that multiple people can watch it at the same time. And if one person pauses it, then it pauses for both people. I've done that in distance relationships or something like that, but it's fun to be able to chat on the phone or have a chat room where you're all texting each other while watching some video on Netflix. Does anyone know, do other does Hulu or anything do a similar service? I don't know, maybe, who knows? Julie, you want to ask?
Unfortunately, I have no idea, which is a pity because I don't think Farscape is on Netflix. And I want to subject everyone else to the madness that is the subtextually bisexual, very horny Muppet Show in space.
Yeah. Farscape's pretty awesome. Julie, what were you going to say?
Oh, do you have to have a Netflix subscription to join in a group Netflix?
I believe you do. However, there's a chat thing going on. There it is. I think you do have to have a Netflix subscription. However, I think because you can have up to 4 or 5 people on a Netflix subscription, so it's possible that if someone has a couple extra slots, they can offer them to people at the beginning or right before they start the actual Netflix party. So I'm not exactly sure how that works. Another option is to if I didn't have Netflix but someone else was having a Netflix party, I might just find another way of watching the movie and then just press play right when they press play, the old-fashioned way of having a Netflix party.
The poor man's Netflix.
Yeah. Tiana has a very good, and Amber, they're both having, offering to share things. So there's probably ways of sharing. I imagine what it would look like is someone saying, I want to watch this thing on Friday at 7. Text me if you want to join, or we can have a Slack channel for it. Yeah, I highly suggest the Slack, because it seems like the Slack channel, our Slack workspace, will be a good way during this term to really connect with other people. But I think social media is probably a good way of doing it too. Okay, so where did the whiteboard go? Come here. Are my things? Oh, there are my things. Yes.
So some of those events that got canceled look really awesome. Is there any way we could like do them after all this is over? Like the queer ball?
Yeah. That definitely. So I kind of I sped right past this, but basically the idea is that they're being well documented. All of the steps that are taken to buy all the materials and rent out the spaces, they're being documented, so that hopefully whenever this all ends, the officers who are in charge at that time can kind of roll them out smoothly. The queer ball seems like a great activity for whenever this is done, so that we can celebrate being together, although that probably should wait until it's like definitely done, because so that might be a while, perhaps next winter or next spring. But yeah, whenever this is over, we hope to be able to do lots of things together again. Right, in that newsletter that we sent out, there are all the links to our socials down at the bottom, both a public and private Facebook channel, so that if you wanted to go to the private one, so just in case you have people on Facebook that you don't want to publicize a lot of posts to, you can join the private group. Okay, so we've talked about canceled events, we've talked about officers, we've talked about upcoming events. Are there any other questions about those 3 things?
There is another event kind of thing that's going on, because STEAM in Action is still trying to be active even while remote. And so STEAM in Action is a club centered around finding a research topic of about a marginalized community, and then doing research and then planning an outreach event to bring awareness to a certain topic that they're researching. And right now they're trying to transform it into more of a book club kind of a thing. And it's going to be centered around LGBTQ issues in STEM, and that's us. And so that's probably going to be a Wednesday evening kind of a thing that we can join. Yeah, still learning more about it, but it might be kind of like a weekly kind of reading. So if anyone knows of any book that is about LGBTQ issues in STEM that can suggest, then totally open for that.
How does someone get involved with STEAM in Action? Do they have an active Facebook group?
Oh, I don't know. But I can, when I get the details on when their Zoom meetings are going to be, I can post them on Slack.
Sweet.
But I don't know about any Facebook groups. I should probably look into that. It sounds really cool. And we were going to get started with that for this term on campus, and do a big research thing and have a big outreach event. But alas.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's it for the official updates. So I did want to have an opportunity for check-ins. And just if there was going to be a lot of people, I was going to say we should break up into groups. But this is probably easy enough for us to actually just talk to each other. So a few things for check-ins. Let me make this screen a little bit bigger. So we started talking about coping mechanisms for isolation as one thing. I would love to hear like about difficulties. Oh golly, and successes with online classes so far. What is? Oh wait, is today the? No, we had all last week. Yeah. So let's talk about classes. I know lots of professors are actually looking for suggestions on how to make things better, but this can at least be a session where we can vent about all the awkward things that our professors are trying to do. And what's one other thing that people want to check in about?
Well, so we're not physically sitting in a room where we can go around in a circle, but I can start.
Well, I was sorry. I was asking for what's one more topic that you want to check in on.
I mean, as an icebreaker, we could say like, what has everyone's media journey looked like? Because a lot of people are binge consuming media right now, although not everyone, as I can attest.
So like, what's your media diet look like?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many rolls of toilet paper do you have left?
Okay, then sure. Thank you for starting us off, Lincoln. You can, since you volunteered, you can be the first, and then I'll just go down through my list of people, and if you want to pass, you can pass.
Okay. I live currently in a household with family, so I'm not really the item manager, purchaser, keeping track of that stuff comprehensively. Conveniently for me. Media diet. I just read a really good book on historical anthropology. I'm not really binging anything except for various role-playing games, rules heavy and otherwise. If I was not thoroughly indoctrinated by capitalism and compulsively being busy, I am legitimately fairly busy now. I'd probably be binging Farscape again because it's been a while. Coping mechanisms for isolation. I'm not staying that isolated. Also, I'm fortunate in that I can, while observing the actual rules of quarantine, go on regular walks very often in the lovely area I live in. I'm actually having a pretty good time with Zoom lectures, especially with the breakout rooms feature, because I'm used to big lecture halls where there's no good way to talk with other students without interrupting anybody. And also I'm obnoxious enough I can continue to monopolize the teacher's time if no one else asks questions. I'm in mechanical engineering, which is a very handwriting, diagrams, and mathematical notation heavy major. So trying to get help over office hours when you can't sit next to someone and show them your work easily is a bear, and I hate it. And it's making doing my homework much longer than it does in, when things are normal. So that's the part that most sucks.
Thank you, Lincoln. I meant to ask this before, so I apologize. For you personally, Lincoln, do you care if this is part of the recording? Because I'm going to post this recording and send it to like our members so they can see it, but I can chop off the end. Would you?
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. And then for other people, if you could just like chat me or tell me if you would rather your section of the check-in be not part of the recording, I can chop it out. Is that okay? Okay. Great. So hello, Annabelle. Nice to see you. We're just going down the list and doing some check-ins.
It's officially passed.
Well,
hi, everybody.
Hello. Would you like to go next on the check-in? Can you see my screen? The 1, 2, 3? Okay.
I can see your screen. Okay. Hi, folks. So in terms of media diet, I've been trying to read as much as possible, just because I rarely spend so much time at home, and I'm trying not to get too sucked into TV right away because I know ultimately I'll get there. But I just started to read Lord of the Rings, which I've never read before. And so I think that will take me a significant amount of time. I'm about halfway through the fellowship, and it's very exciting. Coping mechanisms for isolation. I just moved in with my partner up in Portland. So I actually moved out of Corvallis when all classes got canceled. I see you, Amber. What's up? And that's been really nice. So I don't feel too isolated. I am having difficulty just being away from the people I love, but I feel like since the pandemic has started, people have gotten a lot better about communicating. I'm getting calls from people I never usually talk to. And so even though I can't see people in person, I'm staying in contact with folks. So I think phone calls is part of that. And then I haven't had much difficulty with online classes, but it's been really difficult to have research meetings, especially if it's with more than just my main advisor. Once my committee gets on the line, it's almost impossible to communicate the concepts that are necessary for it to be a productive meeting. So I found that to be the most difficult thing. And it goes along with what Lincoln's saying. The majority of our meetings are usually drawing, like, oh, you're confused about this, let me stand up next to the whiteboard and draw it out for you. And so I think that is a major limitation. And that's how I'm doing. And then before I mute myself again, Erin, I did want to say that ERI, the other organization I'm a part of, is looking to do K through 12 outreach digitally. And in the past, ERI and oSTEM have made packages for K through 12 outreach that work well together. And so maybe we can combine oSTEM's work and ERI's work once again for a digital interactive K through 12 outreach project.
That sounds very exciting. Yeah, I think Alyssa is connecting with the middle school and high school groups that she's already been in contact with to ask how they can do outreach. So it sounds like a great partnership. Yeah.
Okay.
Remind us what ERI is.
Earthquake Engineering Research Institute. We, the last thing that we did was we went to Shetland Middle School in Corvallis. oSTEM did, and we took ERI's Connects and Shake Table, and we did the earthquake demonstration with the kids.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Katie, if you don't mind me tagging you in, you're next on my list.
Great. Is my mic's working? Great. That's what I was messing with while Annabelle was talking. So my media diet is exclusively reading for classes. I am in 3 very reading intensive classes, and I'm just constantly reading for class. So that's it. I haven't been on Netflix in months, actually, because I didn't even have a spring break. Rolls of TP, I actually have been doing pretty good. I moved into my parents' basement. Dungeon is mine. It's unfinished and fun. And I actually brought my TP, and so we combined our collection to make one sustainable household of TP. Coping mechanisms for isolation. I am just been so busy that I haven't really had time. So I guess that's one of them, is keeping busy. Difficulties with success with online classes. Fortunately, 2 of my classes are over Zoom and not the other ones, and so that's helpful. But I have something called auditory processing disorder, and so that's difficult. So I have to have a transcriber who is typing at the same time as the teacher's talking, because I can sometimes not understand a word that is being said, or I can't multitask with like trying to listen, trying to do things, and it's all complicated. And so I have to have like a lot of windows open. It's just like my transcriber and chat and the teacher, and when I'm looking at on Canvas, it's just bonkers. It's basically it.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, I think we can all sympathize with all the crazy stuff that's been going on Zoom with our professors lately. But um, if I could tap in, Julie is next on my list. How are you doing, Julie?
Hanging in there like everyone else. Have been trying to like actually make some progress on research. I haven't been binging anything. The last book I read though was over spring break. It was this. Would very much recommend to people who live in any Western state where water is more or less a scarcity. Yeah, but it tells you all about how like water is allocated and basically treated as a resource in the eyes of the law, and it is fucked up, man. Like all our laws were made 100 years ago when we thought that resources are unlimited, and we're still using those same laws, and we very much know that they are not. Yeah, Lincoln, I see ya. I'll send it to you eventually. But the other thing, the only other like fun media that I've been doing is that the new season of this podcast called the Magnus Archives is coming out, and it's about like people turning into monsters and monsters turning into people, and there is not a single straight character on the show. So every Thursday for the next 40 weeks, I will lie down in my bed for 20 minutes, put on the Magnus Archives, and have my heart absolutely obliterated by this really good podcast.
I've heard so much about it. I've not consumed it myself. I'm not a big podcast person, but I'm very intrigued.
It is real good. Coping mechanisms. Inviting people to virtual coffee is my thing now. Skyping, messaging people I was previously too scared to message. They message back. It's a surprise. Difficulties and successes with online classes. One of my professors, it's Tom Miller, for those of you who know him, is a very dedicated professor, but also very old, and like it's sweet and also a little just like watching him struggle through Zoom and how to present stuff digitally. We all try to help him out, but we're rooting for him.
Thank you, Julie. Let's see. Tiana, are you able to?
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Tiana. I have been listening to music nonstop from the moment I wake up until about 2 hours after I've went to sleep. I have a sleep timer, so I know exactly when my music turns off. I have been taking advantage. I listen to electronic music, and there have been virtual raves every single weekend since the quarantine started. So it's pretty much a music festival from Friday to Sunday in my living room, which has been just so wonderful. Coping mechanisms for isolation. I have a dog, so we play fetch and go for walks, and we chase squirrels. I help participate in this endeavor, so I also receive exercise during this. And difficulties and successes. It's just weird because, like, I have 2 of my classes that actually have live Zoom lectures. It's a professor reading a PowerPoint that they refuse to give us until after the lecture's over. So you just like sit and watch this person read the screen and then ask for questions, and no one has their video on. So there's just like really awkward silence, and then we go forward. And that's pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday in my life.
Is this wood design?
That's one of my classes, yeah. So I don't know. I feel for them though, because this is probably really hard. I just wish there was a little bit more interaction than them reading to us. Like, even if they just like wrote on the screen, it'd be really nice to see some dynamic lecturing. I don't know. But at the same time, this is hard on everyone. So I'm proud of my professors. They deserve a raise. Yeah, that's my quarantine.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard horror stories and great transitions made by different professors. Amber, will you grace us with your wonderful presence?
Hi. Um, so media. I was sick actually for like a week over spring break, and I watched like 8 horror movies, I think. I don't know why. I just like suddenly wanted to watch a bunch of horror movies. And that was fun. I stopped when I watched the autopsy of Jane Doe. I think that was what it was called. And that one freaked me out too much. Let's see, what else have I been doing media-wise? Now that the term started again, I've been pretty busy with like research. I'm writing a manuscript and a review right now. So fortunately for me, I was basically going to be working on my computer anyway this term. So that's nice. Toilet paper, I think we're good. I have like 2 roommates that work at grocery stores, which is A, terrifying, and B, great because like anytime you need something and you don't want to go to the store, you can be like, hey, I'll Venmo you. Can you buy me this thing? So that's nice. Coping mechanisms. I have been hanging out with my girlfriend a fair amount, which is arguable, I know. Probably not supposed to be doing that, but like, we're like the only people that either of us hang out with, so I feel like not that guilty. Let's see, other coping mechanisms. I started running, so that's been kind of fun. And I've started doing these like online workout videos, which the lady in the videos is like really obnoxious and I hate her voice, but she like, I don't know, there's something about her videos where I just like keep doing them for some reason. So that's been pretty good. Online class situation, I'm on the other end of that because I'm actually done with all of my classes. But now I'm TAing, and I'm TAing a microbiology lab online, which is super challenging. But I feel like the students are doing pretty well so far. It's just like a lot of work because like having to learn how to operate all of these like new software programs and also teach at the same time is like challenging for me. And it also feels awkward to like run a lab session from my bedroom. But like, I feel like everyone is hanging in there really well and like being patient. We're all being patient with each other. So it's going all right.
Okay. Well, let's see. I don't think I've answered. My media diet has been sort of all over the place. I started real strong in the coronavirus news every day, all day, reading websites and things, and I thought I was totally fine. I had a close friend that was he started that way like before Corvallis got shut down, and he was already sort of like spiraling. I'm like, oh no, that won't happen to me, it'll be fine. And then like last week I sort of lost control and fell into a bit of a pit. So since then I've taken a break from most coronavirus news and focused more on just like local news, like what's happening in Corvallis specifically in Benton County. I have a bidet, and if you've never used a bidet, I highly suggest a bidet. Just saying. So I don't really use that much toilet paper. My coping mechanisms, I've sort of gone through a bunch of different things on the spectrum. I started trying to transition my sleep schedule because I'm going to be home all day every day for the next like 4 months. So I was I was trying to do like the whole like nap every 6 hours thing, and then I found myself getting sliding deeper into depression. So I stopped fucking up my sleep schedule and went back to sleeping and then taking like a little nap during the day. And it's actually been a lot more helpful. I feel a lot better now. But I've also been messing around with my like diet and just trying to do basically anything I can, changing my wake up time, talking to old friends. Like, you know, I did like a video chat with someone I haven't talked to in like 5 years a few days ago, and talking to my mom frequently, because honestly, that's like one of my biggest sources of worry is my mother. So I don't know. I just try to make sure that I do at least one thing a day, because sometimes it feels like the whole day can go by and I've just sat there worrying about things rather than actually doing anything. So I try to get one thing done a day, and most of the time I get more, but some days I don't get much done. But it's getting better. I think, you know, we're adapting. In terms of online classes, one of my professors took the approach to just completely record all of the lectures and not do any interactive lectures at all, and just have office hours during the assigned times so that people can ask questions. I think that's going pretty well. And then my other professor has been trying valiantly, but his handwriting isn't very good, and he's been doing a lot of like on tablet writing. And so sometimes it's hard to read what he says or where he's going with things, but I think he's getting a lot better. So there's been some successes with that. Our department has done a couple of like social gatherings, and on Zoom. So we break out into like smaller groups and talk, and then like switch all the groups up and like break out into small groups again. So that's been really fun. So I think I've had a lot of connection with other people, but I live alone in my apartment and haven't actually like seen another person face to face in like 2.5 weeks. And you know, it's going to be several months more. So it's challenging, but I think it's getting better every day. I think I'm hopeful that I'm through the worst of it, or at least I'm prepared for when it comes back. Yeah, so that's my check-in. At this point, I would love if anyone wants to stay, we can like play a couple of games, but at this point I'm actually going to stop the recording from the meeting because I don't think anyone wants to watch us just like play games. They might.
If they did, I don't really care either way.
But please, like send me a chat. Is it Fisher? Wait, is it Fisher? Was that for me, Tiana?
Yeah, because you're either in my class or I'm your TA. If it's Fisher.
Oh no, no, it's for some math class.
Okay.
Oh, wait, where do you live close to me, Amber?
I think so. 17th and Van Buren.
Oh, I live 17th. Oh yeah, that's like 3 or 4 blocks away. Yeah.
I'll yell at you across the street.
For right now, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. But there it is.